of like, well, I can relate because when I get free hugs, we have our regular huggers that come every Friday because they work down the street and, they love giving us hugs.
Yeah.
And then all the other people we never see ever again.
Yeah.
And I kind of like it because you have those regular people.
Yeah.
You look forward to seeing them every Friday. And then you have those other people that like, oh my God, this is the best idea ever. And they act like they've never given a hug before. And it's pretty amazing.
I think some people might not have. Speaking of which, I'm with Olive Spoon and whatever regular name withheld. So, no. But no, you're here as Olive Spoon. You're a poet, human being, general all-around-ish person. You're nude model, do all kinds of stuff.
Yes, that is accurate.
And you live downtown, which is cool. So that's always a fun thing.
It is. It's fun and entertaining. I'm 2 blocks away from police station.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. So you live up in the new square, the new Royal Square.
I don't. I live west. So I am near William Penn High School.
Ooh.
Right on the converse.
Oh, well, it's not too bad. So you're by like Penn Park and all that stuff.
Yes.
So that's good. It's a good place to be. What's it like? Well, so first off, because I don't know already. How old are you?
23.
Okay. So what's it like to be young, bright-eyed, and living downtown right now?
It's different. A lot of people are not used to having a young, mature person with a lot of energy. Mm-hmm. And I'm a morning person, and I'm realizing everybody hates the mornings.
Yeah. But but how does that? So all the art and poetry that you do, does that environment, is it cohesive with what you want to do? Is it do you feel like the living downtown is fucking rad, or does it fit for you?
It does. It fits because there's always something new. There's always something to pull inspiration from. There's people that moved in there just to go to York College, and then you get to know them for a little bit, and then they're off to wherever.
Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't I don't know enough about you apart from I saw that one picture of your leg with the tattoo, and then I got fascinated by it, and I was like, oh, you're a poet, you should come on. I don't really research all that well, so
the ship tattoo that you saw is actually a poetic reason.
Mm-hmm.
When I was going through hard times, somebody told me, just be like a ship.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that makes no sense. They're like, okay, well, think it down to a sailboat. A small, basic sailboat.
Mm-hmm.
So how you deal with the wind so you can stay on a straight path is you have to move the sails.
Mm-hmm.
So the same goes for a big ship. Now, a big ship often holds a lot of people. And if you want to go more in depth, it'd be like a pirate ship. Pirates were always taking people and throwing people off.
Right.
So that ship is your life. And everything life throws at you is the change of direction of wind, the storms. Mm-hmm. People are going to come and go in your life. But you always have to adjust the sails to make sure that you stay on the straight path.
Oh. That's a really, really sensible way to look at it. That's definitely it, because I think people have this idea that that the path is concrete and the path is it can't, that you need to change. Yeah, you definitely need to change with it. It's not going to change with you.
Yeah.
And people have that in their mind, and then that if something doesn't go exactly as planned, then it's then they sit and they get into this rotational thinking of well, it should have changed, and it's no, man, you got to change. That's it. It's if you spend all your time worrying about why the sales aren't the way they used to be, and just keep on floating through, you're gonna be fine.
Oh, yeah.
So that's cool though. And you got that down at this shop everybody keeps telling me to go to. So
yes, you need to go there.
It's the place it's on Duke now, right?
Yeah, they moved on Duke Street right after actually right before the alleyway because that's a one-way street going north.
Oh, okay, yeah. So right there by the Royal Square parking lot.
Yes.
So that's cool though. What's the name of that shop?
White Rose Tattoo Parlor.
Okay, cool. I'm like, I get into these weird things where I just kind of stay, like, I don't stay out on purpose. I just find, like, I'm a super busy human being anyway. So for me to actually get the opportunity to go downtown, like, I don't know, I just get, like, weird and introverted, and I hide.
I do the same thing.
Yeah. But so how long have you been into poetry if you're 23-ish?
I started in high school. There was a poetry unit in our English class. Actually, we went back to middle school.
Ooh.
I remember. Well, I wrote this poem on Morning Glories, and the project was you had to write about something without you can't use the subject anywhere in your work.
Oh, okay.
So even though it was about morning glories, I couldn't use the word morning glories anywhere in my piece.
Right.
So I kind of related it in the piece, I think. I don't even know if I still have it. But I related that to the flower opening to every day. You know, you have a new day and there's a new time to open up. And that's kind of how I put the whole piece. And my teacher was like, you have talent, you can do this. And in middle school, you know, everyone picked on me. I was always picked on. I'm like, I can't do anything right, you know.
Yeah.
So I just kind of pushed that aside. And every time, you know, we had a poetry unit, I wrote. And same thing happened with different teachers. But it wasn't until life really hit me that I kind of understood poetry for what it was. You know, I stopped writing for a couple years and I kind of got really depressed and, you know, things weren't going the right way. And I wasn't sure, like, how do I channel this? What do I do? And I just picked up a pen and started writing. And I have these pieces that I call word vomits. So I took a writing workshop and they said, okay, so just write whatever comes, whatever words, whatever phrases, just clear your mind by writing all of these random thoughts on paper. And a couple of those pieces were actually really good. The one started out, gray is the day of yellow and green. And it's kind of random, but
I like that though, and well, that's what I wondered about what motivates your poetry, because there are people that are like obsessed with traditionalism and obsessed with structure, and they're
what structure?
Yeah, but so it's like even nowadays it's almost like the Beats when they were making fun of Ogden Nash. May he rest in peace, I guess. But Ogden Nash was a poet who was in whatever the weekly magazine. It was either like he was the National Poet Laureate in the era of the start of the Beats. So that would have been like 46, 47.
Okay.
So he was nobody had popularized, chaotic poetry. Everything was verse and sonnet, everything was based off the Romantic period, all that stuff, and it was long and not really my thing, which I totally get. But at one point, like when Kerouac and of course it's early in the morning, but when all the beats, all the big three beats, big four, no, big three. So Kerouac and Ginsberg and Burroughs a little later, but when at some point one of them had written about hating Ogden Nash because everything was a factory. His poetry, the work that was being published from Nash was just mechanical, and it was like a pop song where it's just there's nothing to it apart from the fact that it needed to be done. And then the Beats, of course, exploded, and poetry was gigantic at that point. So
my poetry has no structure. Some poetry has a general, really off-beaten path that it follows, and Other times it's just complete nonsense. And a couple years ago, I had somebody that I admired tell me that I didn't know what real poetry was as I was publishing a book.
Yeah.
So that was hard. That was hard, but I'm like, you know what? I am going to do this. And I'm going to do this because this is something that I want to do. And I'm not about to let somebody else dictate what I can and cannot do in my life.
Well, I fully agree with that because it doesn't need to be, it's not anything. It's just an emotive, it's an emotive expression. And whether you have a large purchase of words or whether you're just a guy that, you know, swings a hammer in the day and you write some roses are red poem for your wife, it doesn't, you know, it doesn't matter because it is an emotive expression of that moment. And however it is however it is. And there's really no standard for it. There is the lauding and worship of idols in every field of literature, but is it all that net? Like, so what? You know, like if I don't read every author that's out there and I don't make when it comes down to like knowing quote unquote real things or this poet or that poet, or it's just the emulation of style.
Yeah.
And it's just, there's nothing fun about that. You know?
There's, it's like, I don't know if you've ever gone into a development and the house looks like the gingerbread cookie cutter, and all the houses are the same. That drives me crazy.
Yeah.
Every time I go to somebody's house, I like look and see what's different about their house on the outside. So then, you know, well, I'm a visual person, so when I drive back, I go by landmarks.
Yeah.
But I always find their house that way. I learned the hard way never to judge by the big tree sitting out front.
You know, you can buy the big tree and have it shipped in now.
Well, wait, what?
It's a joke.
Oh.
No, go ahead. But yeah.
But I feel like people expect poetry to be like that. They want this rhyming pattern, and you know, it has to rhyme and it has to make sense and it has to follow this plot line structure and it has to lead from point A and flows into point B, and I like to break rules. So
yeah,
I am that house that looks like a 5-year-old child drew it, where the roof is completely inverted and there's, you know, the second floor is on top of the inverted roof.
Right.
That's how I am.
Yeah. And well, that's the other biggest thing is like with poetry, it is it is the author or authoress, whatever. It is the author of the poetry that matters the most out of all of it, because, you know, let's be honest. One of Jim Carroll from the really big in the 80s wrote Basketball Diaries. One of his biggest pieces that I love was Just Visiting. But the only reason I love his poem Just Visiting is because it's Jim Carroll. And when Jim Carroll speaks, he stops the world. Like, it does become this odd thing where it's like, does the poetry matter most or does the personality matter most? Because reasonably, you go back on the history of most modern poets, and you know, you're looking at what's his name, the Welsh poet that wrote "Do Not Go Gently Into the Night." Something. Anyway, I shouldn't have that off the top of my head anyway. But, you know, like, the only reason he's huge is because he died chain smoking cigarettes and drinking at the White Horse in Lower Manhattan, and like, he was drunk, he was an asshole, he was mean, and that's all I remember about him apart from that one poem. That's gonna kill me. I'll have to put it in the notes. But you know, it's one of those things where like, the personality should be bigger than the work. Yeah. Because the work is going to end up stale. The work is going to end up feeling stale anyway. Because there's not like, I think a lot of people have this like personification that like, oh well, a popular career in music lasts 4 years. Well, a career in literature lasts a lifetime. That's a lifetime of learning and rediscovery, and you get like, unless
I
you're
feel like with poetry and with any type of artistry, your different set points in your life is going to affect that in your work. So, I think it is Pierre Mondrian he's an artist who did he used primary colors, and it was all on black lines going horizontal and vertical, and then he would fill a couple blacks in.
okay, yeah. He was a cubist. No,
Yes.
yeah, okay, yeah. Go ahead.
And if you look, you can see if you look at timeline of his artwork where his life started to become messy because his art became quote unquote messy. And it wasn't like structured like he usually has it. Instead of his lines weren't making it all the way across the page. The colors weren't, exactly filled in the blacks. They were just like a brush stroke. And they analyzed that to his life and what parts coincided with his life. They said, that was when, his life started to go downhill a little bit, which it makes sense. And I feel like music, especially in this day and age, it's hard to reflect that because you have this industry that you have to report to.
Yeah.
But, true musicians allow themselves to morph. I don't know much about Eminem, but I have listened to his work, and you can kind of, if you listen to his lyrics and his tone of voice, you can hear it. It's slight, but you can hear those changes, and where some of it he spits his words out more angrily than other times, or other times he's kind of soft and sad, and sometimes he's strong and I don't know, feisty. That's the wrong word.
Well, yeah, no. Well, I do agree with that one. Like for whatever reason, like he was of course huge when I was a kid, and he took off when I was younger, and a friend of mine was really into him. And you're right. Like when you take his first giant hit, I forget what it was. I don't know. Either way, but with his first album, he had garnered such a power that he could do whatever he wanted. Like he wasn't stuck in the confines of the music hallways that are whatever the Capitol Records headquarters. So he had the ability to do that, and you're right, because he had one that was about I think on his first album he was dealing through the custody battle with his daughter Haley, and then on the second one, and it's it's real mean, and he's fighting his mom, and all this crazy stuff is happening. And then on the second one or third one, sorry people that love Eminem, I'm not really super tight on the dates, but there was the one, it was a piece called Stan, and
Yes.
and it was about the super fan that ended up was writing Eminem. This is something that actually happened. It was based off of something that actually happened, but Eminem didn't get a chance throughout the whole song. He didn't get a chance to write the guy back, and then the guy went nuts and killed his family. And I don't know if that actually happened or not, but either way, it was more a reflection of what was going on because the fandom had caught up, and his world changed from being this voracious animal that was trying to get out of a situation and find safety for his wife and daughter and mom and all that. He went from that to working to having the fame bubble there and huge and motivating everything that he was doing. And, he basically wrote an album about being famous and the pitfalls of it. Stan is definitely a pitfall of that happens. It's weird,
It is. And I would like to become well known. but I let me rephrase it. I would like my work to be well known.
Right.
I don't want to be stuck in that. I'm going to call it a tragedy of being famous and having this fandom, because I like to go home to my mess. And I like to, I like to go home and know that this is my safe spot. And I feel like when you're famous, there's no such thing as a safe spot, because somebody somewhere is going to recognize you. And then, once one person is like, oh my God, that's so-and-so. Hey guys, look, it's so-and-so. And I don't want to be a part of that. But I want my pieces, I would want my work to be well known. But I also don't want to be one of those people that only become famous after they die.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's not fun.
No, because it's kind of so sorry for your loss, but not really.
Yeah. And that is one of those things that, like, there are people that want to be that everybody's going to love me after I'm dead, and they don't open their mouth about their work. And it's like, you could just let it out and get your work out there, and we could appreciate you as a human being now. And it feels like such an arrogant thing when people hide art. Yeah, when I can understand I can understand nervousness. I can understand stage fright. Even I got it, and I'm standing. I got it terribly when I read at the Depot the one night during open mic, and I'm standing in a room with everybody that I know, and still,
that's the worst part.
Oh, it's so weird, and it's like I can understand believing that, your work isn't. When you get caught up on that thought, like, oh, it's not worth it, it's not worth putting out, it's this, and then, like, suddenly the photographer who died, and some guy bought all her film at a yard sale, and he started processing it, and it turns out she was one of the greatest photographers in the entire world, but she was just some lady who was taking pictures. That's not fun. And there's also this balance of, like, how do I not be pushy, and how do I keep everything honest? Because, like, every poet that I can think of, especially in modern times, is like they have that balance where it's I'm living life, and a product of me living life is the work that you're getting. And like Bukowski has, good Lord, I think 140 titles to his name, and it's like that was it. And the reason that it all came out, he wrote Barfly and a couple other really great novels that didn't make any sense, but they were good. It was like the product of life was the work, and it was one of the products of being alive and experiencing things, because you can get lost in the art. You can get lost in this, like, rhythmic pattern of, well, I'm writing, I do it every day, it's for this, and then eventually it's like, well, what are you writing about, because you haven't left the house yet? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You created your own little hiding spot, and you're living in it, and there's nothing going on in your hiding spot because you haven't seen the world.
It's also, I never want to become a full-time writer.
No, that'd be weird.
I hate to say this, but I treat it like a hobby. Because, you should enjoy your hobby. Nobody enjoys work.
I do.
No,
Yeah.
I love my job too.
Yeah. But it is. I don't enjoy the fact that it sucks up some of the time that I'd rather be doing other cool stuff. Like, no, I totally get that. Yeah. I didn't mean to throw a wrench in your statement.
No, it's okay. I always carry 2 notebooks with me and work, and everyone always like, why? And I said, well, this one's for any good ideas I have, and this one is for work, for work things, like tips on, if I discover that this transmitter is doing this weird thing, I can write it down, so then I can go and talk to my supervisor, do the whole process.
Yeah.
But my other notebook, I carry, and that's where I write poems, or like any sketches or ideas or any weird things. I write it down, and then I continue on with work. So I guess I kind of allow poetry to somewhat take over my life, but it's not controlling my life.
Right. I know. I see what I think that's a good way to do it. I really do, because it can be maddening. It can be something that does shade your thinking in ways that you're not paying attention to. Like you end up in a deep fit of depression while you're working on a manuscript, and you're not even noticing it, and you're not noticing how it's affecting your friends and family and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that's not a good way to be. And and all of this is in my personal opinion, because that's all, like, it's art. Who knows?
I feel like art shouldn't be structured. Art itself, somebody asked me one time, what is art? And the first thing I thought of is art is an expression of oneself. Because if you look at every single artist, they're all different. And you could have a room full of artists watch a Bob Ross video and make a painting, and each painting is going to be different. Nobody's tree is going to be exactly the same tree of happiness. Is that what he said? Like, happy little trees.
Happy little trees. But no, I do agree with that, and it just gets to be one of those things where you realize that. I think so. How many books have you published, by the way? How many books of poetry have you published?
I have published one, but I was published in another book.
Oh, cool. No, I don't. Yeah, I just needed to know. That's all. But no, that's really cool. When did you publish that?
This year.
Oh, okay.
In March, after I wanted to do something kind of big for celebrating 1 year of sobriety, so I thought, why not write a book?
Really?
Yes.
Ooh. So what possessed you to be sober too? Because I'm going on 3, and I'm just past 3 years.
Awesome. I kind of, it started to destroy me.
Yeah.
And mostly creatively and emotionally, which is kind of weird to explain, but I kind of realized that once I started putting whiskey in my coffee and going to work, that this could turn into a problem. Now, I only did that once.
Yeah, I was gonna say, no, I'm not. Yeah, if you're doing that 5 days a week, you might need a new job, and you might need a different outlook. But yeah,
I did that.
It's a little intense.
I did that once, and I stopped, and it was kind of one of those jokes that somebody said, "You'll never get a hangover if you don't stop drinking." I may have. At that point, that was my rock bottom, because I realized that I was going to take it to heart. And that day, it was a mess.
Yeah.
It was a mess. I got my work done, and I just went home, and I hadn't showered for like 5 days, and I was working in a kitchen.
Oof.
And I was also working retail as well. And, I hadn't washed my face, and I still had makeup on from the previous weekend. And it was kind of, I looked at myself in the mirror, and I said, is this where you want to be?
Yeah.
Is this what you want to be in life? And I tried quitting. And I was dating this guy, and it wasn't like he kind of stopped talking to me. It was really strange. And after a week of him not conversing with me, I quit drinking for 2 weeks. After the first week, he broke up with me, and I'm like, I almost ordered a shot of whiskey, and I'm like, you know what? I am not going to let this happen. I Like, I'm stronger than this. I'm not going to drink. That lasted 1 week. And I walked into the depot. And he was in the back making out with some chick. And I looked at Barry. Barry saw what I was looking at, and he goes, the usual, and he made a drink for me and called it the Mad Dog. And I said no. He looks at me and he's like, "Is everything okay?" I said, "What's the strongest whiskey you got up there?" He goes, "Well, I'll tell you, but that hasn't been opened." I said, "Well, crack her open and pour me shots."
Oh, jeez.
That was not a fun night. There was another time where I tried quitting, and then my grandfather passed away. And this just happened to be the night that I was at the depot again. That the pitchers, they had the $5 liquor pitchers.
Yeah.
I'm down to 3 of those. And I actually drank myself out of my apartment.
Wow.
I was evicted, homeless for 2 weeks, and that sucked.
Yeah.
But I took the bus, but I didn't even have a car then. I still did not miss a day of work or a day of school because I said, this is my mistake. This is my mess. And I got myself in it. I can get myself out. So when I got my keys back to my apartment, because they're like, "Oh, you pay us what you owe. And we can settle. We'll give you back your apartment." So I thought, this is my chance. Let's do this over. And since then, I've quit. I also had 4 cases of beer in my apartment. When I got back in, all of the alcohol was gone. Which that was another slap in the face. Like, you need to get your shit together.
Yeah. I was interested because I know that literature is so fueled by heroes that are constantly drunk.
Yeah.
And it's like, and the other thing is that so you published your first, and there's so many. You're at a time now where publishing is simple and accessible and easy.
Yes.
Did you self-publish?
No, my friend Carla Christopher runs Poem Sugar Press.
Okay, yeah.
And I did it through that, which is amazing. It was amazing. It was hard. Editing is not my strength. I had no idea. I don't punctuate any of my poems. So if there's punctuation, it's been completely edited. Well, I went back and edited, and we had numerous times in Ironic where we were upstairs. I don't have it with me. I have what's called my poetry Bible, and it's this composition book that I've had for almost 10 years now. And I just got halfway through it, but it's like twice the size that it's supposed to be because, when you're a writer, you have an idea, and the only thing you have is a receipt paper. You just write on that. So instead of, transferring that into the notebook, I just shove the receipt paper in the notebook.
Yeah. That's it's one of those bad habits, and like I don't know if you're into like journals or whatever, but like I go through these phases where it's like, okay, well, I need this journal, and then all the journals up on the top shelf that aren't open have a folder in the back. And when you open the folder in the back, I've got a storage supply pocket notebook in the journal that I use because I have to keep my thoughts separate because I have so much dumb I have so much stuff going on right now, and like that's what's on the whiteboards behind you is another project, and it's like I do 70 hours a week, and then I put like I don't know 25 hours into this, and then I'm gonna be putting as much as I can into that. And that's cool though, because Carla definitely does really vault the poetry movement around here.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the picture. There it is.
Oh wow, that is huge for a composition. But yeah, that's such a right thing to say, John. No, that's definitely. Yeah, you definitely have the writer's habits of just whatever's nearby, and suddenly you open it up, there's a napkin that's got coffee and some words just idly chicken scratched on it, and oh, I don't even know what's on this anymore. Like, that's cool though.
There's a picture somewhere. I think it's still on there, but I didn't have any paper, so I wrote on my arm. And then. To save it, I really hope I still have this. There just happened to be a gentleman with a Polaroid camera that was still functioning. He's like, "Can I see your arm?" And I'm just walking down the street. And he goes, "Can I see your arm?" I'm like, "What for?" And he goes, I'm like, "Oh, that's right. I wrote a poem on my arm." So he took a picture of it, and Polaroid. Got to shake it for a while. We were sitting there talking, and then he goes, "Can I take a picture of it and you can keep the Polaroid?" Mm-hmm. So he takes a picture of the Polaroid for himself, and then I kept the Polaroid picture.
Oh wow, that's one of those other fun aspects of it is that the process of it. I wrote I forget what the last compilation that I did, because I self-publish. I don't really whatever. People will buy it or they won't, so what? Anyway, and it doesn't cost me anything to just compile a bunch of junk together and do it. And you're great poetry for everybody who did buy it. Thanks, folks. But when I read back through it, for me personally, or for anybody that was in there during the process or following it on Instagram and all that stuff, it's like every poetry, I remember why I wrote it, I remember what motivated it, and then I remember where I was, because I'm all over the place all day, every day. So, that's the other thing of it is you have that Polaroid of a poem that you wrote, and that was part of your first book, and that's awesome.
I think that was part of my first book,
or just part of your life.
Yeah. I don't even know. I really hope I still have that. I have to find that. No, I don't remember where or the exact of where I wrote this piece or why I wrote it. So, I wish I had that memory.
Yeah. Well, there's other fun stuff there's a lot more fun stuff to focus on than that, but it's just the difference in the patterns and in the in the rhythms of it. It's like that's how I operate, and that doesn't mean everybody has to operate that way.
No, I do. There's an on-running joke that I'm the Taylor Swift of poetry.
Oh? Do you do your best work after breakups?
Actually, no. I go out to bars by myself often, and so there's me, and I'm typically dressed in something weird like I'm wearing now. I have my makeup done just because I like to dress up when I go out. Mm-hmm. And then I go out alone by myself.
That's weird.
So, I don't think it's weird because, whatever. But then I realize that I'm not meeting anybody at the bar, and I'm not there to meet people. So a lot of my poetry comes from these men that try to get me to go home with them.
Oh, that's weird. Yeah.
Actually, this one, actually titled it Labels, and it kind of was just going on about different labels that I've been given and that I've earned. But the one part I forget what his label was, but this guy who didn't realize that I knew his wife tries to take me home with him.
Oh, jeez.
To the point where I watched him slide his ring off of his finger and slide it into his pocket and come over. So I'm like, I'll just give him a run for his money. So, I go on and I'm just flirting back and being a terrible person.
Yeah.
And then he goes, so, we're both done our drinks. So what do you say we go back to my place? And I was like, oh, I don't think your wife would like that, especially since she's out of town right now.
Jeez.
And I said it loud enough so everyone in the bar could hear, especially the bartender.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely. That's fucking hilarious. I will say that much. That's 100% the most hilarious thing to do. And like, that is such an old white, like, whatever. I'm gonna do this anyway. That's such an old white dude thing to do. Just slide your ring off and pretend like we aren't the most interconnected community right now. That like, even if you didn't know his wife personally, like the likelihood is you could have just mid conversation you throw the phone up, you pop him up on Facebook, and there he is with all three of his kids and his nice family. It's like, come on, man. That's just the disdain that I feel towards people that do that comes from it being such an old shitty tactic, and just it's such a gross display of humanity. Oh God.
I mean, I kind of it's entertaining for me on some level. I mean, it's more fun now that I'm sober. I used to do this while drinking too.
Oh, okay,
and
yeah.
After a couple drinks, sometimes my skill level was a bit questionable.
Yeah.
But no, it's great now to the point where I will actually get to talking with these guys, and they're like, my motives have changed since this conversation started. I'm like, oh God, like you're a really cool person, actually. Like we should hang out. And I'm like, just so you know, I did look you up on Facebook, and I did find your wife and kids.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, and then that ends up being me being their counselor for the night.
Yeah. I think the honest truth of it is, most of the time, like, the amount of connectivity that we have is so much higher, but the actual interpersonal connectivity that we have is nil. Like, it's gone down further, where the moments like this, where we're sitting in a room, like, how often do you actually sit down and, well, you're in the art community, of course you sit down and chat with everybody. That's what you do. Yes. But like, how many people have the opportunity to actually sit down and feel that kind of, like, there's a frequency exchange, and it feels right, and it's what we're lacking through digital connection. Because yeah, you can jump on Instagram or whatever, Facebook, and I'm connected to the world, and it's like, yeah, but it's kind of like when you don't get, like, when you have a vitamin D3 deficiency because you haven't gone out in the sun. Actually talking to people is the D, like, that's what, that's the D3 of it. And it, and yeah, I think the weirdness is that nobody wants to, I need to oil that chair. I'm sorry.
Okay.
But the weirdness of it is that, like, well, why would you want to talk? Why would you want to talk to a stranger? Why would you want to approach a stranger? And, well, okay, because you want to, do weird stuff to him. Like, it's always it's a physical thing, and it's like, well, yeah, but like, what if you're just a human who's interested in talking to other humans? And like, that happens a lot now because of this, obviously, in and out in the world, like, and people just don't expect that. Like, yeah, talking to people is important. I think that's one of the like, best things in the entire world, because we've gotten to a point where it's like, yeah, everybody wants to, everybody wants to fuck each other and move on.
Yes.
And it's so boring because there's no story development.
Yeah, there's no substance to it.
Yeah. And it gets to be one of those things where you see it and it's like, we've been married for 5 years, and of course I say the most inappropriate things. because I can. I don't like,
Yeah.
I'm comfortable in what I do, and I'm comfortable in my relationship. My wife knows that I'm like that anyway, so like I'm gonna say weird shit. It's fun, but it's this like the thing that I can't get around trying to figure out, especially because it's part of a plot. Is that like, it seems like dating today is just in and done, and it like 3 or 4 Tinder dates a weekend, a week, and it's like. Well, what's the fucking sense in that, man? Where's the anything?
I was so bad on Tinder.
Aren't you an intercontinental dater? No, aren't you in a? I can't remember. Somebody in my feed came up as like somebody being a few states away or something that they had to fly out to see them. Maybe not.
I did visit a friend out in Montana.
Okay. There's nothing wrong. How's Montana? That seems fantastic. That seems like a fantastic place.
It was so much fun. I love the snow. So my friend sent me a message. He goes, "It's snowing." And I put in all caps like as much freak out as I could via text message. What he didn't see is me flailing my arms around in the airport like, oh my god, it's snowing.
That's awesome. And like no offense to your friend or Montana, a lot of people go missing from Montana in their national parks. Yeah, it seems like it's a big desolate place. There's a lot of explored unexplored territory there, like where it's not common for roads to be in some of the national parks and stuff like that, and whatever. It's just I've been, of course, doing research, but excuse me. That was the other thing that I had a short list somewhere of things I want to talk to you about, and that was one of them was the temporary nature of poetry and the temporary nature of life in modern times, because it really is like
it's come and go.
Yeah.
I kind of look at it as a revolving door between the two of them. As much as I like being out in the real world, you also have to take time to understand the process of your brain. And it's that revolving door of, running in between. And oftentimes I try not to, but I will get stuck in this revolving door in between. And a lot of times that's where I find all of my interesting works come out of that. People like, I don't understand what was going on in that poem, but I really liked it. And I think that's where a lot of people can relate in situations like that, because most people just go in and out. And they don't take the time to sit and, for lack of a better phrase, smell the roses. But life and nature, you have to find balance in that. I mean, no, you can't live out in the woods by yourself, because we're clinically proven to go insane being by yourself, or you just start kind of taking over habits of animals and then you become one of their pack, if that makes sense. But then you also don't want to be too involved with life to where you forget that nature exists.
Right. No, I think that's absolutely true. And if Dario Argento wouldn't have come out and explained what Mother was about, I would have said Mother was about that, where it's the balance of creative and digital life versus real life. And it was in that perception of it, because he came out and said I wrote it from the first couple chapters of the Bible. I was so mad about that. But anyhow, it was like, that is one of those things that you don't even realize, because my dad's old. My dad's 60 something, 64, 65 this year, I can't remember. And like, he barely understands how his phone works, and he doesn't know what a podcast is. He doesn't know what quote unquote face page is. And that's not a thing. Like, that's not going to be a commonality anymore. And we're in that side of the bubble that's like 19 to 45 that grew up with computers. And then what's next? Well, I've seen 4-year-olds with iPads, and it's like, I get that it's engaging, but is it valid? You know, because I have the issue of like, I'll research weird stuff, and like this week I spent all week researching for this next podcast, and that's valid, but then I'm researching, you know, what makes a below of a diamond important, or I'm researching the most unnecessary, trivial information because I have nothing else to do with my time.
Yeah. When I get bored, I mean, I don't have television or internet in my apartment. I have a record player, and that's it. So my form of entertainment is people, going out and seeing people. So, I mean, having the luxury of having internet is nice. You know, I do have several computers that each one has a different purpose. You know, I have one that is the size of a composition book. That's where I will write my backup for my poetry. So sometimes when I go out and perform, it's easier to have a set list on my computer rather than fiddling through the giant notebook. And then my other computer is an experiment, which is failing miserably. Well, I tried to, what's it called? Separate the hard drive.
Oh, okay.
And run 2 OSs on it. So I have Windows 10 running on it, and I have Manjaro, which is a form of Linux.
Oh, okay.
Running on this dual hard drive. So this computer it's a 6-pound laptop. Big Toshiba, like 18-inch. You know, it's huge. It's a monster. And that, even though I've updated the RAM and the hard drive, it still does not function up to speed.
Right.
So that's kind of like, yeah, you know, so be it. But I mean, I don't know where I was going with this. But, you know, I do go out and I do see these kids with these phones and these iPads and all of this technology. And it's like, there's a butterfly, you know, flying around, and you could be learning about, you know, watching that. But instead you are stuck with your nose to this computer screen that's probably going to make you cross-eyed when you get older. And
yeah,
it's sad. It really is sad. And you know, I finally figured out what upsets me. This is going to be a rabbit trail, but what upsets me about Disney. And it's not what you think. It's actually more along the lines of people realizing that, no, you can't be a princess. And it's this whole idea that, you know, people have made these characters realistic. And instead of it being this fairy tale story that's never going to happen, you know, once these young kids see this Cinderella, you know, that's in flesh, and they're like, oh my God, it does exist. I could be that person. Because when you're little, everyone tells you that you can be anything that you want to be. But whether it's it being a cartoon on TV, you know that a cartoon is fake and that you can't be a cartoon.
Right.
You know, like you can't be a talking cat.
Well, yeah. No, okay, no, continue. I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt.
No, it's okay. And that's that's where I get frustrated with all of this, is because you have made something that is non-realistic. You have put it in a realistic form, and now you have made it so that, this girl who sees a Barbie doll, like, oh, well, I could be just like Barbie because Barbie is a doctor, and then they're like, oh, well, my body isn't the same as Barbie, and it, again, that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day.
Yeah.
But, the whole fact is you've made becoming a doll realistic.
Yeah.
And that's...
Yeah. And that is such a... I would have never put it that way. Because, like, my whole conspiracy with Disney was that they keep releasing Star Wars on Christmas because they really want families to come together on the holidays. And I thought it was like the most playful conspiracy in the world. It's not. It's silly. It's ridiculous. But it is one of those things. I do agree with you. When you do, quote, you can go ahead and open it. I don't care. Don't worry about the noise. When you do get into this idea where it's like, yeah, you're taking, if Buzz Lightyear wouldn't have been computer animated, yeah, I'm sure a lot of kids would have thrown on, thrown on a jacket and taken some broomsticks and tried to fly down the, tried to fly with a skateboard and all that. It's like, but when you're dealing with this idea that, especially with like young girls or kids, it's like you're not giving them you're not giving them the underside. Okay, like you're not giving them the underside of the plot, and you're not like they're not ready to handle that. What they're ready to handle is looking really pretty in a dress. And why don't I look pretty in the dress? Well, it's because I'm 4'8", and I need to change that. It's because I'm this, and this. And when the real point of the story was some beautiful morality tale, it becomes this, inflection of beauty. And there is no true thing that is there is no true vision that is the inflection of beauty on anyone else. Like, it's just, I agree. It is like when you give it that realistic edge, it just takes the wonder and mysticism and the ability to break from that reality. It takes that away because you're looking at people, and and of course the people you're looking at are, 5'11" Gwyneth Paltrow, and she's 125 pounds. Like, still really pretty though. And she.
Yes. And it's the same thing happens with these first-person shooter games.
Yeah.
Where they're so realistic now. They're using like actual city settings, and you can go play this first-person shooter game in a setting that's exactly cut out as New York City. And then that goes, and you look and the characters are so realistic, and then you add in virtual reality, so you have these goggles on, so you're actually being able to shoot this person that looks realistic. And I honestly believe you take that, and when I was a kid, we always played, what was it? Cowboys and Indians. Mm-hmm. And we would just make up these stories and have fun and play. Mm-hmm. But now these kids are connecting with their Xboxes and teaming up and playing this shooter game and shooting people and killing people.
Yeah. And
sorry, I really went into
you're fine. It is one of those things, because I was just talking to I talked to Drayden a couple episodes about the way that VR is virtual and augmented reality is getting to a point where you could walk through a park and you hold your phone up and you spin around 3 times, and suddenly you can play a video game on the map that you just created from the live spot that you're in. Like, have you dug deep into VR at all, or am I the only lunatic on this planet that loves it?
I was afraid to, because I was afraid I was going to come up with more reasons to hate technology.
Well, So yeah, before you go all Ted Kaczynski and start hating technology even further, no. So they're getting to a point where Microsoft has a backpack that's a computer at this point, and there are a couple of places. There's two or three. I think it's Los Angeles, Las Vegas, and one in New York, but they're warehouses, and they're these big spaces, and guys come together to play VR games in there with like these backpack computers on, and they're running around, and they're doing the first person shooter thing, and it's interactive, and it's in this big safe, it's in this big safe building, and you got, because the detachment from the detachment from sound, like right now I can't handle the fact that you're wearing both your cans on ears, because I have to have one free. I got to be able to listen. It's a primitive trait, but either way, so the detachment from the sound of what's going on around me and the ability to see what's going on around me, that's terrifying enough. Like, I have to do that at home, and that's weird, but I think it's I do think everything's good, and I think everything's bad all at the same time, because it can create people that are so obsessed with video gaming that their life becomes the video game, and it's oh god, whatever that bad movie from the 80s was, all over again in real life, or it's Ready Player One, or it's any of those stories of, well, Ready Player One is actually really not tragic, but it was all virtual reality based and all that, but it can create addicts, but everything can. And at the same time, if we use the technology to, I was watching something about a young man. He's been bedridden. He has a spinal disorder. He can move his head. That's about it. But they developed a way and he can move his one hand. They developed a way for him to use a keyboard with that one hand through some motions, and he can communicate with his girlfriend. And if we're adapting VR to people like him, where he can actually throw that on and they can go on a VR date. It seems cheesy to us, but we're two fully functioning adults. Like, it seems silly. Yeah, it's a digital date, but I'm gonna guess that somebody that's bedridden, that would mean the world to him. And the positives and the negatives, I think the positives always, as of recent, have outweighed the negatives. But at the same time, the reliance on digital digital technology, and the reliance on phones and all that, like, I do really think it's pulling people away from having stored knowledge, where that keeps the blood flowing. It's a good thing. It's good to whatever I take out of any of these books, it's good to have it in my head, because at some point it's going to come up, and I don't have to hit the Google. I don't need Yahoo or anything like that. But
one thing is like the GPS on your phone, using Google Maps or whatever you use. People are so dependent on that they probably couldn't even walk out of their house without it. And I'm one of those people where, when I'm driving, I don't have my phone attached to the dash or to the window. I have my phone typically in my lap, and I'll have like one headphone. And so it tells me the direction, so I'm still being visual. So I only need to use it once or twice to get to this place that I'm going to go repeatedly. And then, from there you can understand, and then I go and I have fun. I'll take different routes to see, is this way quicker? Is this, do I miss traffic going this way instead of going around this way? And I used to actually like looking at maps. I would drive with an atlas in my car, and that's how I would get to places. Oh yeah.
I'm impressed, because I have an atlas. I'm a truck driver. It's just a thing. Like, that makes sense for me to have it, but like, yeah, that's really cool.
If if the position for truck drivers was still available, that to have a, because before they used to have a navigator, which was another human being who
Yeah.
told you where to go. That would be the perfect job for me. Because I can navigate. When we would go on family vacations with my mom and my sister, my sister was dyslexic, so reading street signs and numbers, I mean, it was not, we got lost a couple times, not her fault at all. But I told my mom, I said, well, I can read, and I can read signs from the back seat. So we had to rearrange the car. So I sat in the middle seat whenever we went on vacation, and I had to crawl in from the passenger side front and then shimmy back. It was quite the sight to see. But I would have the map, and I would navigate us everywhere. We got lost in New Hampshire one time and actually ended up in Vermont.
Ooh.
And I told my mom, like, hey, Mom, we're in Vermont. She goes, how do you know that? And this is before, smartphones. And I'm like, well, first of all, the signs are in the shape of Vermont, like the state route signs. Were in the shape of Vermont. And I said, and also, according to this map, this street only exists in Vermont. I'm like, however, based on this, if you take this route, which should be coming up if we're going north, this will take us west and going south, and we should end up right in the city where we started. My mom just looked at me like, okay, so she did exactly what I said, and we ended up back in the same place. So from then on, I was the navigator of every trip.
That's awesome. That's one of those things that, like, having the ability to do that really polishes up like, I call it, I know there's something different to it, I forget what it is, but I'm left-handed, so I'm a right brain thinker.
Same here.
Really?
Yeah, I'm left-handed, but
I didn't girls being left-handed is more rare than guys being left. Like, yeah, there are plenty of left-handed guys. I didn't know there were left-handed girls. That's
I'm
weird.
also full-brained, so I use my brain at a 49-51 ratio.
Oh wow. So does the creative side get the 51? I guess we have no choice, right? But no, so it's that ABC thinking where, like, yeah, everything up on the board when I'm taking notes on stuff that I'm working on, like, everything's in a line, and if I don't have that, like, I'll map things out. I still make plot maps. I still use whatever they're called, flowcharts. I still use flowcharts in my daily life, and anybody that tells you math isn't worth anything is a liar. But it's like, it's one of those things that, like, yeah, of course you can read a map and figure it out because you've got a directive, and you can see where you can guess what you can see where you are and see where you need to be and figure out all the lines and just connect all the dots, and it's fantastic. So
I'm one of those people, when I'm sitting in traffic, I'm not thinking about, oh my God, when am I gonna get out of this? So what I actually started figuring out was how to figure out the angle that the car needs to be, so when you don't have to have your feet on any pedal and your car will stay put. Because most cars have the automatic start, so you lift your foot off the brake and it'll start pushing forward. So my car's like that. And so I kind of figured there's too many factors unknown that are involved, like the weight of the car, the pressure in the tires. This is what I think of when I am.
You're definitely a lefty. Yeah. That's the funniest thing in the entire world. Like, yeah, it gets to be one of those things because I'm stuck in traffic most days. It's just, I see people freaking out and getting high anxiety. And it's like, I'm just busy looking at the shoulder of the highway for mushrooms and different breeds that are, puffing up right now, which, we're out of season now.
Yeah.
So it's the Northeast. We're out. We're done. Ian Carroll got some. No, it wasn't turkey tail. He got some chicken of the forest. Lucky.
Oh, is it that big mushroom that he?
It was the orange one. Yeah, it was like
with the little shells on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm gonna try that. I'm not a big mushroom fan. Now, when I went out camping, my friends, his parents own like 50 acres of property.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, oh yeah, just come over, come camp on our property. And they have this really huge fire pit set up. So anyway, I went on a walk with one of my friend's uncles, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And we went with somebody else's kid, and we went for a walk. We found mushrooms. Like, oh, come here, let's take this back. And he cooked it,
Mm-hmm.
and it smelled like chicken. And he goes, now, I mean, he showed us how to do like the spore test to see if it's edible or not. And it was actually really, really cool to learn all about that. I couldn't tell you about it now because it was so long ago.
Yeah.
But
No, I was gonna say, and actually, Ian got hen of the forest, which is a little different. It's just a different color. So the one that he showed was light, and chicken of the forest is a very, very bright orange, almost like this shade right in the middle here. And it's one of those things that, like, yeah, it makes you appreciate the fact that, like, the world's not trying to the planet is not trying to kill us, because we're trying to kill it. I don't know why, but it gives us food. It gives us, out of 14,000 different mushroom genera species, like 400 of them are edible. Most of the ones that are here now don't ever eat wild mushrooms, especially at my behest. But most of the ones that you come across are easily identifiable as edible or not. It's like, it's really good for you.
That are white with, or that are red with white polka dots.
Red with white. Oh, those are those are a misconception. That's what those are, actually. Those are those are the quote-unquote magic mushrooms. I'm not sure why they made the art, like, something in the 70s. They were like, look at this beautiful big toadstool-style mushroom with a thick stalk, and it's red and it's white. And it's like, Amanita muscaria is its genus, and it doesn't do anything for you. It doesn't. Psilocybe cubensis, where's all my books? They're in here somewhere. But, yeah, all my research books are in here, but cubensis, on the other hand, is the magic mushroom that everyone expects to see, and it's wonderful, and it's hallucinogenic, and I don't know, maybe the primitives that we were at one point ate some of them, and that's why our brains expanded, and it's a beautiful thing. But that's what the Earth gave us. The Earth gave us a new reality, because, magic mushrooms are there, and I'm more enthusiastic about them than I am virtual reality, and I see better with them, so it's there.
Here's the way I look at it is different substances will open up parts of your brain, but that is also room for consequences beyond just going to jail and ruining your life. As far as with your body, and it has that whole addictive trait. Now, I have one of those where I'm working on this, but I think what's called an addictive personality. Mm-hmm. So I have to be, there's like something that I'm always like 100% into. And I'm really trying to channel that into poetry, because that is a quote unquote healthy obsession.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to keep kicking your foot.
That's all right. Alcohol was not. Now, I wasn't fully addicted to it. I stopped myself before I had a problem, thank God. But as far as, at one point I was addicted to attention, and I was addicted to love, and I always felt like I needed to be needed, and it was hard to tell myself that, like, I don't need anybody to love me because I love myself. And running through, I'm trying to figure out how to word this. It's just like all of these things like running through my head about things that I don't need, you don't need this, you don't need that. And constantly having attention was something that was hard for me to realize that, I didn't need. And it was more like to the point where I would set myself up to get hurt. And kind of realized that whole being addicted to attention was true when I realized that my last guy that I dated ended up cheating on me the day I left for training for my job.
Oh, jeez.
And it kind of was a wake-up call. I guess that had happened because by Wednesday he got really distant with me, so I did this thing where I wasn't going to talk to him all day. And then he called me. He's like, "Hey, are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm busy with work." He goes, "Oh, okay." And then I didn't hear from him till the next 2 days, and I tried talking to him, and then I come back home for the weekend, and he didn't want to talk. He was, like, being very distant.
Mm-hmm.
Sunday, he finally broke up with me, and I went to his house. I'm like, "Hey, what's going on?"
Yeah.
And he goes, "I'm really messed up, and I don't think we should be together." Essentially, I'm like, "Okay, whatever."
Mm.
So, of course, like a grown-ass woman that I am, I picked myself up, and I tried to make it to my car before I cried, and I didn't make it.
No.
But that's besides the point. But the point is, like, I allowed myself to be so involved that, oh my God, this guy likes me. He's giving me attention. Like, oh my gosh, and I've been talking to this guy for a couple months now, and we're just like really taking things slow. And it's great because I'm setting that point where I now notice these tendencies to where I tend to be like, oh, he likes this and he likes that. I'm like, you know what? I like it when I do this. Like, yeah, I can never take a normal photo.
Mm-hmm.
So I always send him these goofy photos. And today I realized I'm like, I can't take a straight picture. I can take a good, decent picture. I just never do with him. But this whole idea of finding yourself and being true to yourself and loving yourself. I mean, I love who I am. But, at that point when when this guy cheated on me, I was allowing myself to be loved by his attention.
Mm-hmm.
So I needed his attention to love myself. I needed reassurance that, oh my, that you're so amazing, you're the best thing, to ever happen to me, and all of that. He has a family out in Utah and Salt Lake City, and I was like, I totally moved for you, and we were kind of only dating for a month.
Yeah.
And that's that addictive personality reaching in. There was at one point where I was a workaholic, and I was working 3 jobs, 70 plus hours a week, and going to school full time.
Jesus.
So, addicted to work much.
Yeah, that's too much effort, and I'm kidding. No. When I was in college, I switched going from classes to going to work. So I stopped going to classes, but I'd show up to work on time, and I was working full time and part time. I just liked it better. Yeah, I don't know why, but that is one of those odd things that you like as you grow. Like, good God, as you grow older. Since I'm 32 and I've got 9 years on you. You realize that at some point that it's like I was just thinking about old me yesterday, and I don't know if I had a funeral for old me or not, but like I used to be impulsive, like really terribly impulsive. I was like so much worse with money, and just it didn't matter what I was doing. I was throwing it, like everything that I made during the week, I would throw it all away. And like, I came up on a memory where like I dated a girl in the summer who didn't tell me that she had a boyfriend, but then he broke his jaw at a show after I found out that she had a boyfriend, and they had a benefit for him, and I donated at the benefit because I thought it was really fucking hilarious to give the guy money, more or less, for fucking his girlfriend. And that was '04, so I was 19 or 20, and like, I'm not as bad now, but looking back on that, like, you gotta just grow from that, because it is one of those things where like I need to have something going on all the time, and it's got to expand, and it's got to be like engaging, and I was always that way, and then it came down to a point where it's like, all I want to do is sit here. I want to wake up in the morning and turn the heat up and wait for the sun to shine off the floor, and I want to sit down in my dining room, and I want to do nothing. I want to be at my house, and I just want to be away. And it's not like disdain for people, and it's not a like, want and need to be in solitude, because I'm in a truck alone all week. I don't need the solitude, but I just like the calm.
Yeah.
And it's such a full 180 from one time, like 7 years ago. It's weird like that. And you come around to that because, yeah, you're right. Like the needing, what the, God, I forget what the name is. What do they call that? Not cohabitation. Oh, shit. I forget what they call it, but like there's some new term for like when you're just two people that are just so needy, emotionally needy, that there's no actual validity to you except for the vaulting to your relationship, except for the vaulting of your relationship. Like you're like, it's all these romantic gestures and stuff like that, but there's nothing to it. And then, like in the, people are running off and there's no like solid foundation to it, and they're cheating on each other because they can pick up their phone and just fucking make a phone call or pop open Tinder and find themselves a Tinder date. That's weird. It's like, because I see a lot of people that don't want that, and I see a lot of people that are just kind of stuck in it, and it's like, bummer. Like, just break it. And it's cool that you and that was what I was trying to figure out. I have so many people in my feed, but I did see that, and I peeked on it, and because you said about taking it slow. It's like, hey, you're honest to God courting each other. That's fucking rad.
We actually, so side note, I am too independent for my own good. Mm-hmm. To the point where I absolutely hate when I go out to dinner with a gentleman or like go out to food, and it's not a date. Like, we haven't established it's a date. It's, hey, do you want to go hang out? Yeah, okay, let's go to this place. Okay. And they pay for my food, and that drives me insane, because I'm like, I can't do it. I'm an independent woman. I have money. And it's and I realize that that's just me being a woman. Like, okay, accept the fact that somebody wants to buy it for you. And he goes, we went out for breakfast the one morning, and I'm like, I'm buying my breakfast, and I said it with such disdain and bad taste, and he's like, so I take it you don't like when you're not dating somebody and they pay for you. I go, no, I don't. I said, but that doesn't mean I'm like, you.
Yeah.
And he goes, I just treat women very well. And, him and I talked about that. And I said, it's just because I've been on my own for 4 years, and I have paid for all of my things. I've paid for my car. I've paid for, growing up. If I wanted something, I had to go and rake leaves and shovel snow to get the money to get whatever I wanted. So I'm used to that. I'm not used to somebody saying, here, let me get you this, and not expect anything in return. Yeah. So saying thank you, and they're I said thank you the first time he did that, and it caught him off guard. Like, this, I'm expected to do this for you, and you're saying thank you for an expectation.
Mm.
And I said, I'm used to going out and paying for myself because I go out alone. I don't go out with other people, or I run into other people, and I pay ahead of time. And I used to buy my mocktails ahead of time, so it wouldn't give other guys the opportunity to buy my drink.
There you go. It is really odd because our the natural independence of it is like, what expectations are there as who's gonna pay what? And it's like, just whoever pulls their wallet out first, let them pay.
Yeah.
I get to that point where it's like, whatever, just I don't care.
I am sorry. I took him to York, and he pulled the whole. I went to the bathroom, came back, and he paid.
Yeah, that's smart.
And I'm like, let me get the check. He goes, I already got it. And the look that I gave him, because he drove from Coatesville to York.
Oh wow, yeah.
He drove us for my show that I did for the solar eclipse, and I'm like, you drove? He goes, yeah, I drove, and you brought me out, so this is my thank you. And I'm like, but you drove.
Yeah. I know, and I was gonna say, and I feel like you would probably, like, being independent for so long and taking care of your own bills and all that stuff, like, it's a dude trait. We don't really take money into account as much as we want to. Like, we don't really pay attention to that, and it doesn't hold the kind of weight that it does for other people. Like, it's just how it is. Like, and then fighting people on who pays the bill. Like, if I fought my wife's uncle on paying the bill, he would never take me out again. So I just keep my mouth shut and let it go. Like, because it's just enjoy. Like, I get it. Some people are like that. Some people do want to just. It's not some like rigorous old thinking. It's not some old ritual. It's just the way of the night. You know, like, honestly, if I went anywhere and didn't pay for whoever I was with, like, if I was out on a date or whatever and I didn't pay for your meal, it's because I never wanted to see you again. So, like, it's one of those odd things.
Yeah, I also thought that when other people would pay for me, it's like taking away from my independence.
Yeah.
I no longer think that way.
I could see that, yeah.
But I'm also a Pisces, so I am stubborn. Completely independent and non-reliant on other people. So being, I mean, my stubbornness actually is probably the most thing that gets me in trouble, because when I do something, I want it done and I'm going to do it. But then most of the time what happens is I sit down, I'm like, oh, that voice inside the back of my head's like, oh, you can't do this. Like, oh, this is a perfect example. So I had gotten tendonitis in my shoulder a couple years ago. Probably about 3 years ago. And I had my bedroom and my apartment set up in a peninsulated room to the outdoors, which isn't, the building was built in the early 1900s, so there wasn't room for insulation. So, I mean, that room gets very drafty and cold. And my doctor's like, oh, no heavy lifting, none of this. So what do? Instead of calling my friend and saying, hey, can you help me move my bed?
Yeah.
I moved the bed, the box spring, the frame from one side of the apartment to the other side. Now, I have a townhouse apartment, so all the rooms are in a line. So from one side through the living room, through the kitchen.
Yeah.
And then into my...
Yeah. Of course you did. Of course you did. It's just, that's the way of it. And, I know. And like horologically, is that the right one? Yeah, no, I'm a Cancer, so yeah, I'm supposed to be a lunatic, but I am. I just like I finally went back on medication, so I could just be even about it. Like it's still there. The intent, like it's just don't do anything that loses any intensity in life for you. Like if life doesn't matter anymore, then stop what you're doing and do something different. More than anything. So what's the name? So what's the name of your book that you published?
My book is Lurking in Dark Corners. It is on sale for $3 on Amazon for your Kindle.
Oh, okay.
Amazon. I don't know how that works, but it's there. It's really good. There's a lot of good substance to it. I'm not saying that because I wrote it. I'm saying that because when I read out of my book, people listen. Like I have silenced Holy Hound before.
That is actually rather exciting. That is the weird thing. Like, can you ever say that your own book is really good? Yeah, I think you can. I could see it. Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to sound cocky and arrogant because I am. Let's see. Here we go. I'm confident in myself, but I'm not like I'm the best this world has ever seen. Just like I'm the best me there ever was.
Yeah. Pardon the term, you're cocksure. There's nothing wrong with that. Like that's the thing is you see that when you see that in people, it does feel different because like I swear to God, I was trying to wrap this up because I gotta pee, but and because you need a burrito before you get your hair done, but that's the thing is like you see that in people and you understand that like there's a difference between being meek on purpose, being cocksure, and bravado, because they all three send off a much different frequency. Because to me, in my personal opinion, like bravado to me is just the loudest chimp that's can't climb a tree. It does not feel right. Like no matter how loud somebody is, there's sometimes no merit to it. So like I don't look up to that. That's not fun. False meekness is when like you see somebody and you know that they could just be fucking awesome and you do everything that you can to vault them as like to be sure of themselves. That's it.
That is my biggest weakness.
and you can see it in them and you're like, come on, man, you can fucking do this, and I know you can fucking do this. Don't sit here and play Holden Caulfield all the fucking time. It's boring. And being cocksure is why I say shit like that. Is because like I think everybody is capable of achieving anything they want to achieve, especially after like I finally wrote a few novels. I finally published poetry. I've done this. I've done everything that I want on a 70-hour work week, and nothing has fucking stopped me because the only thing that could stop me is me.
Yeah.
And it's like you have that same thing. Way to be a middle. Good job, cocksure. Swing it around and show the world. But no, I do. I was gonna say. So no, I didn't know if there were paper copies, if you did a paperback of your book or not.
I did, and I need to grab a hold of Carla so I can get more, and then I might disperse them freely.
Oh, well, yeah, weird. Why did you just give it away? It's terrible. I do too. I was gonna say. Well, it happens. No, what collection were you in? Were you in Below the Belt 2?
No, I was the collection I was in. It was when I was in high school. I entered a Rock Shack poem into this poetry contest. I ended up getting the top 25% in the nation and being published.
Oh, that's cool. So I'm trying to help. I was gonna say I want people to dig into your work. Go buy it. But.
So I am on Facebook under Olive Spoon. Mm-hmm. And there you can find Instagram for hilarious life stories and life happenings.
Yeah. So,
But yeah.
yeah. I feel like the promo just like, I feel like the shameless plug just made you flatline. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I just I don't like promoting my own work, and I'm weird like that.
But your work can never be noticed if you never say a word about it. That's the problem, isn't it?
I'm
Mm-hmm.
I'm a very loud person, you know, people will hear me.
There you go. Just shout it from the mountaintops. But, well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I enjoy this.
So, me too. It definitely got better. Sorry about throwing sorry about starting on a weird note.
It's all good.
I'll cut most of it out and nobody will ever know. That'll be awesome. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.